John, Anik, and Kenny Florian podcast. John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
I love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole. There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
And by popular demand, bobbing his head to the Boston Garden Rat, the Godfather, the star of the program, Ray Longo, for whom rent is due every day for the rest of us on the first of the month. Good October 1 to you. It's a Tuesday. It is 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, episode 516 of the Anik and Florian podcast. We are live. Ray is back from Paris, France. Kenny Florian is back from whatever he does, sort of getting pistols off his hip in an expeditious manner. Ray, it's nice to see you, man. Nice to see that you have the right camera in use today. And wheels down, welcome back to New York.
One thing, jet lag is for real. Oh, man. I think it's because I was in Vegas for a week, came back, did a local show in Atlantic City, which traffic was brutal. And then I jumped on a plane to Paris. But Kenny, I swear to God, I didn't get on track the whole time. I don't think.
That's and it's been a few weeks. Like you were on the West Coast, and you came right back. A couple flights on the West Coast, and you'd go all the way out to Paris. The Europe flights kill me, man. Yeah, it got me for the first time ever. Like, Australia wasn't even any. Australia was great. This was tough. But what do we got? Let's go.
I mean, you've been burning it at all ends. I'm not allowed to talk about your hair, but if you want to lead the show and, talk about your jet lag, we can do that. You're looking pretty good. You're looking pretty good today, my man, all things considered.
Yeah,
I think when people hear jet lag banter, right, like the one thing that I would just say, and I'll take 10 seconds to do it, if your schedule allows, what I have found is that you need to sort of sleep when you're tired, take a nap when you're tired, no matter what time zone you're in, because even going west to east in the United States can cause problems.
Right.
But we have a lot to get into today. We will recap the ever-living piss out of UFC Fight Night, Moicano versus Saint-Denis. We also will get into UFC 307. It is a pay-per-view week, and there is so much to get into on the Merab Dwalishvili front. So just because Ray's the star of the show doesn't necessarily mean he gets to choose what we talk about first. To that end, headlines brought to you by Cuervo. Now's a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. And I am going to lead the show with the undisputed UFC bantamweight champion Merab Dwalishvili being paraded around Georgia.
Wow.
I guess we could lead with this monetary donation that his country gave him, or this monetary prize they gave him for winning the UFC championship that he is going to, make good use of and donate to charity. He's just the best of guy and can be the best of champions for the UFC, depending on how long he holds this belt. But what do you have for us on, your guy being paraded around Georgia like the star that he is?
I tell you, couldn't happen to a nicer guy. It's the old cliche, just a good guy. We went out to eat for Fravola's dinner before the fight. The guy's bringing bread over to the table. He's getting up like he's just, I can't see this kid changing no matter what happens. I mean, I hope he doesn't, but just a humble kid with humility. I think everything you want in a champion. And he got mobbed in Paris too. The Eiffel Tower was in you could see that those shots. He's just everywhere he goes. He's picking up more and more fans because I think people resonate with the type of person he is, and that's just a real humble, down-to-earth guy from, humble beginnings. I don't want to keep using the word humble, but just he's got everything in perspective. This kid, he really does, and it's just nice for me. It's just a beautiful thing to see. So
you need synonyms for humble. You're looking for synonyms. I like lean. Grew up kind of lean, grew up lean in its formative years.
Yeah, I was going to say meek, believe it or not, but I'll take lean. That's good.
I love it, man. Not surprised. So what's next for your fourth world champion, Ray? Any plans on what's going to happen next with Merab?
Let me clear up one thing also, Kenny, just since we're talking about it. He comes to Paris. I think we're in the workout room, and he shows me a text from O'Malley saying, push for the rematch. That was definitely the first line, push for the rematch, and not like push for the rematch in a year or whatever. So I said, push for the rematch. I said, we got Weidman fighting at the Garden. I go, ask him to tell him to fight at the Garden. You're
Right,
ready to go. Let's see what the guy's made out of. If he really wants it, if he's really, really got the burning desire to do it, let's go. Let's do it in 8 weeks or whatever. And I guess Steve Lee and him just were right there, and they put together that text. And then people were saying he's ducking Umar. He wasn't ducking Umar. He was responding to a text from O'Malley saying push for the rematch. I don't know if the guy's hip is bad. I don't really follow a lot of stuff. I know he had a torn labrum. He's supposed to go for surgery, but then, why put that text in there? Was he want to push for the rematch in a year from today? Like, well, I don't, John, I don't get it. I
don't know why Merab took the bait, honestly, right? Because the guy's injured. He's going to be out. And even if O'Malley had won the belt, he might have been out for a while. I'm not criticizing Merab necessarily, but why are you even engaging him? The fight wasn't competitive. It's not going to be, with respect to, the 48-47, right? I don't think it's anything that's going to happen in the next 18 to 24 months. So Umar Nurmagomedov seemingly is the guy. And this whole narrative, right, Ray, that I hate to keep comparing Belal Muhammad with Merab Dvalishvili, right? But the notion that Belal is somehow, would ever avoid Shavkat, right? And Merab would avoid anyone, never mind Umar Nurmagomedov. It's just a tired narrative. And I don't know who's saying it, right? Like, who is suggesting that, in your mind, that Merab would duck Umar or anybody else at 35?
Nah, nobody on the planet, as far as I'm concerned. But and getting back to Belal, these guys had to really go through hell to get to what they wanted. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't offer Merab a fight before the Aldo fight or the Cejudo fight or after the Moraes fight. I mean, it's just fair is fair. You want a level playing field. I think that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Obviously, Umar, his whole camp, I like those guys. Obviously, Umar is a super talented fighter, but, you didn't do what Merab had to do to get to that title. And I think that's the first thing. And I think Belal would agree with that they have to go through hoops. They have to jump through hoops to get what they want. And then why is this guy entitled to just have one fight against a guy who had a couple of losses in his last couple of fights? That just doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah. Well, it's great to see him being celebrated, and however under-celebrated perhaps Merab Dvalishvili had to be because he took a backseat to past contenders or took a backseat to the venue, the Sphere, right, when he challenged for the belt. He has taken a backseat and second to no man right now. So we congratulate Merab, and it's going to be interesting to see when his next fight against seemingly Umar Nurmagomedov happens. But I do want to get into UFC Fight Night, unless you have anything else on that front. I got our producer Cody Merrow here in the chat trying to, compare you and Sean O'Malley. He says that Longo lasted 2 years with a torn labrum in his hip, so he doesn't understand why Sean needs to get surgery.
4 years with bone on bone up. Nobody's doing what I did. Nobody's doing what I did. I could take pain, but the other thing is, Merab didn't take the bait. I took the bait. Because when he showed me the text, I said, "Fucking fight him tomorrow." Like, what are we talking about? But I think what the only thing I could think of is that I remember I had a kid. When Dan Hardy trained at the gym for his GSP fight, so we had to keep it under wraps. And one of my knuckleheads put something on Facebook, or it could have been, I don't even know what platform it was back then. And I said, "Dude, you got to stop." He said, "Oh yeah, agreed." He went home. He smoked some fucking weed, and he did it again. Like, I think these guys don't know what they're doing. And I don't know if that's, again, it's anecdotal, but I think these guys smoke so much and then shit pops in their head and they don't even think about it. They start writing. But, where I come from, if you make a statement like that, back the fuck up. Back it up.
Man. I don't know what you're talking about, writing on cannabis. Anyway, as far as your stroke, though, real quick to sort of put a bow on this, because I'm not trying to instigate or engage when I say taking the bait, right? I agree with your stroke. If you are going to take the bait, say, all right, we'll see at Madison Square Garden. If you're looking for the rematch, we're ready to fight. And seemingly you are not, right? But I just feel like it's on to, with respect,
sure,
the rest of the division at this point in time.
Well, I think that's why he's doing it. Everybody wants to remain as relevant as possible. But, at the end of the day, man, I'm glad you took a jet home. I'm glad you made money. But, man, you got held down and kissed by a grown man, and you couldn't do a fucking thing about it. And you're the champion. And I hope that money eases the pain of what that must feel like, that humiliation. So enjoy the year off. Keep thinking about it. Keep smoking. and keep writing. And, we'll keep responding.
And soundbite, put it in the show open from here to eternity. Ray Longo minute, not today. He's off the top of the show by popular demand. So I'd like to get into Renato Moicano, and then we'll segue to your guy and a whole bunch of different things that I have in my notes. I had ample preparation time today, so we're very ready for Ray Longo, and I will not be asking him about his appearance. So Renato Moicano, Ken Flo, I'll start with you here. Time to put some respect on this lightweight's name. Can we do that? Can we put some respect on this fighter's name? He made his UFC debut as an undefeated fighter in 2014, I believe, against Brian T. City Ortega. He's fought a bunch of killers. He has stepped up on numerous occasions, 4 days notice, over 5 rounds in a co-main event against Rafael Dos Anjos in whatever form. And now, I don't know how many fighters are 3-0 in 2024, but the money man Renato Moicano is that. Couple of different stylistic, brutal challenges along the way. He's just in the wrong division, right? You talk about Merab and Belal. The division's a big part of the problem, Ken Flo, but what do you have for us on the big win for Renato Money Moicano as underdog on the road?
Yeah, that's right. And we've talked about this division being so difficult, and to just get three wins in a row is extremely difficult. I think he's on a 6-fight win streak now, which is just amazing. And, I've talked about this a lot with some of the guys that I work with and train with, and your ability to have offensive skills and to maximize your ability to put damage on your opponent could be the difference. So if you are hanging out and just trying to get position and chill out in round 1 or round 2, you give an opportunity for that opponent to maybe come back in rounds 2 or 3 and bite you in the ass. He maximized that opportunity when he got in the mount. He really put it on Benoit Saint-Denis, and of course we got a stoppage because of it. So it paid out. So I thought it was just an awesome performance. I'll stop down there. There's a lot more to say, but I thought Moicano looked phenomenal.
Raymond.
Yeah, I mean, ditto everything he said. Plus, add in a guy that when he grabs the mic, everybody fucking listens at this point. I mean, he knows how to maximize that mic time.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know if it's because of the language, a little, the accent or whatever, but I think the guy's absolutely fantastic. So he's got the skills, he's got the mic skills. I think he knows, very nice guy. If you meet him, you gotta love him. And I think he knows exactly where he is and what he can do. And I think he's having fun with it. Super talented. And like you said, when he had, he's tall, but he's slenderly built. Right. Whereas Saint Denis is a fucking tank. You look at this guy, he's just a tank. And this guy did do a great job in the mount. Somewhat, which I would have hoped that Frivola did when he was mounted. He got a little rushed and he should have been there doing damage and holding the position. And we did go over it, but unfortunately, I think he went for the submission as he was getting reversed, which would have been fantastic if he got it. But we're going now into higher, chances of getting some of those stuff. I like the basic, ground and pound control, and just slowly cook the guy just exactly the way Moicano did to Saint Denis.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you, John, to Saint Denis' toughness.
Oh my God!
With a batted eye, that guy was coming back in round 2.
Yeah,
you ain't beating this guy on a set of balls. You know what I mean? He was having success in round 2, and he couldn't even see out of one eye. So hats off to that kid too, man. Just he's built from a different cloth. So
there's no doubt, and I'm not sure if he gets the benefit as a former French special forces operative when it comes to sustained in-octagon damage. I mean, he leads the league, right? Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos in the UFC debut stared death in the face over 15 minutes on short notice. Yeah, right? The Dustin Poirier fight wasn't particularly brain-friendly, and now you inject this one into the equation. And Pahumpa, American top team, Renato Moicano, UFC experience, right length. And you're right, Ray. Certain guys are more listenable than others on the microphone. And Moicano isn't even everybody's cup of tea, right? In part, your voice got you this show, right? In 2015, like we came after you, right? In some part, obviously, because of your coaching brilliance and, like Bill Belichick, you're just looking for conditioned athletes. We get it, right? But your voice got you this job, right? Because we absolutely love listening to you, So I really am encouraged to see what Moicano can do. Jalen Turner, Benoit Saint-Denis, back-to-back, not that easy. Fought Drew Dober before that, a knockout artist. Brad Riddell, well-trained, good lightweight. I don't know. It's just crazy. The dude's ranking hasn't even moved up. I don't know. as the president of Team Florian for a guy who fought for the UFC title 3 times, like 55 is just absolutely brutal. Like next up, it'll probably be Mateusz Gamrot, his sometimes teammate that he has said publicly he's willing to fight. It's just crazy.
Yeah. No, I think he's got it all, this kid.
I think one thing that's interesting, guys, is the fact that, Moicano had a broken clavicle, during that fight. I mean, you see the x-ray and it was nasty. And I think an interesting wrinkle to the situation would have been if the referee actually went over and, saw that his shoulder was out and actually went over. They may have stopped the fight because of the injury to Moicano as well. But either way, it was Moicano really taking full advantage of that mount position, putting as much damage on Benoit Saint-Denis as possible. He had that takedown, got on top, never let Benoit up for a while. He finds himself in a great spot now. And I think he will eventually move up the rankings. And I think there's a lot of interesting fights for him in the future.
All right, I want to ask you guys a question. So at the end of the fight, I think Michael Bisping in the post-fight interview said something to the effect of, you hate to see a fight end that way. And you don't want to take that statement in totality, right? I went outside with my twin brother thereafter to, smoke a lung dart, right? No, we didn't smoke a cigarette. We just went outside to talk. And he said the same thing, right? He said, oh, I hate, and I'm like, no. Like, you hate to see a guy throw so many strikes and throw so much offensive skill, right? Kenny led with offensive skill, right? All this offensive martial arts put upon this other man in a damaging way. Yeah, maybe it wasn't the photo finish like a fucking Kentucky Derby or a SportsCenter top 10, or for Moicano, it's frustrating. Maybe you don't get the bonus, but no, like I like to see a ringside physician go in there, pull his dick out and stop the fight on the side of fighter safety, as opposed to trying to, be like, try to get a crowd going. So,
well, at first he was actually holding his hands up and he realized that Benoit Saint-Denis was using his good eye to look at it. Then he covered the bad eye and did it again. And he's like, I don't know how many fingers you're holding up. So both eyes swollen like that, man. That was crazy. And for Benoit Saint-Denis, a guy who, kind of was inspired by the Dan Henderson and Shogun fights, apparently, he's got to find another way to be successful inside the octagon, as opposed to kind of leading with his durability maybe too much, or his chin too much, and understand that, hey, I can't have too many more of these. Otherwise, my career is going to be over by 2025.
Yeah, and let me say one thing, Joe. I agree with you, but I love Bisping. I disagree. You don't want to see a fight stop there. I'll take that any day of the week. Why not? I just beat the crap out of somebody to where the doctor had to stop it. I think where it gets mixed up is when there's an eye poke and the doctor's in there, and it's something that was an accident. This was a beat down to the point where you couldn't see out of one eye. Nobody has a problem with that. I think the doctor entering the ring off like an eye poke or a groin shot, then nothing happened. You're left empty. You don't know who would have won the fight. This guy did damage, major damage in the first round. That's why the fight was stopped. Hats off to Saint Denis for not refusing. Now he would have still kept fighting with one eye. And I don't know, just tough as nails. And Moicano, I think I'm happy to see this kid get whatever he's getting at this point, because he's a super nice guy.
Well, Bisping fought several years in the UFC with one eye. He won a world championship with one eye. So he's like, hold my beer. Oh, that's not a problem. Merely a flesh wound.
No, and I think it's just sort of a phraseology thing. I'm not coming at him. I'm maybe
no, definitely not. No, but when he said it, I did say, what are you talking about? Like, that's what you're supposed to do. Beat the guy so bad that,
Yeah, and good on Mark Goddard for getting in there and calling for the doctor, because none of that happens without him. I don't know exactly what Cody's doing. I don't have any guests scheduled today. Looks like maybe some delayed footage. I have some other things I would like to get into, if I could, Ken, Flo, and Ray, on the Renato Moicano front. It does make for an interesting transition to Matt Frivola, which we will do here in a second. But Ken, Flo, as far as this lightweight division is concerned, there are teammates here. Renato Moicano, in some respects, a promoter's dream, because he's willing to fight teammates. Now, that is not to suggest he will fight all of these guys that have either Pahumpa or American Top Team ties, but he has been booked prior to fight Arman Tsarukyan in 2023, who is part-time under that Coconut Creek roof. He has said publicly on the Show Me the Money podcast, in my presence, that Mateusz Gamrot is the type of teammate that would fight other teammates. So even though those guys are close, they would fight. I don't know if he would fight Grant Dawson. That's not a fight that particularly matters right now. I don't know if Moicano and Dustin Poirier would fight, but for Poirier with one fight left, he's certainly not going to fight a teammate. So Kenny, as you look at Justin Gaethje, who has a very specified list right now, Dan Hooker, Michael Chandler is booked. Beneil Dariush, number 7 in the world. Anything jump out of the top 15 for you? Patty Pimblett there rounding out the rankings there at 15.
Yeah, the one that really stood out to me as I was prepping for the show was Benny Dariush. I think that's a fight that makes a lot of sense. You have 2 jiu-jitsu guys who also like to mix it up on the feet. You kind of determine who the better jiu-jitsu guy is there. And both are very exciting and willing to either go for the knockout or for the submission. So I think not only is it a fight that makes sense, but I think it would be an exciting fight potentially for a main event in a UFC Fight Night.
I love it. Love that fight.
All right, Ray, I would like to get to Matt Frivola if I could. And certainly I think for those of us that have a lot of love for the family, his brother, his dad, road warriors alongside you, this was certainly tough to watch as we celebrate Fares Ziam and all the good things that are happening in his career with his 4th straight win. Not the way you guys drew it up to have your guy sort of concussed. So what can you tell us about the weekend and your thoughts on the fight, if you'd be so kind?
Oh, the weekend and my thoughts on the fight are compartmentalized, 2 totally different.
All right, well, let's separate them. Let's start with the fight then, and then we'll talk about you partying with women deep into the night wearing an Anik and Florian podcast t-shirt.
But you see the things I do for this show.
Well, I hope so. I mean,
do you see the things I do for this damn show?
Oh yeah, poor Ray Longo surrounded by all these beautiful women. I mean, I'm not going to feel bad for you. I mean, come on, look at you.
But Kenny, it was the 4th day in a row I had this shirt on. My armpits smelled like hell. I mean, this is horrible. And they're still hugging me with smelly armpits with a stale shirt.
Exactly.
Come on.
It was Heidi Dean and Karen Bryant.
Love those two.
A lot of great people. But yeah, I mean, Ray, we love having you as a billboard. It's even better, if it ends up being like Fares Ziam, who's the guy who's maybe on the canvas, right, for the sake of the jersey after the fact. But man, you've produced so much for this podcast. I'm just having a little fun. So hey, let's talk about the fight. Yeah. There were certainly some moments for your guy. He has owned it as he always does, but he's in recovery mode now. We feel for him. We feel for you. What'd you make of the fight?
Yeah, I mean, the fight, I like the way it went. Like, at the beginning of the first round, he had the takedown, he had the mount, or he had the choke on. I thought, I thought he was going to win by submission in this fight. So like at that point, everything was going really well. And then, he was hanging tough. He was having trouble with the range. I thought that kid stayed very relaxed. He wasn't biting on any like pocket exchanges or stepping in and trading. He was tough to get to, and we were trying to work on that in between rounds to maybe start at the body a little bit and, to find yourself first before you started throwing. But the game plan was, I think, to get it to the floor and to look for the submissions because does have good jiu-jitsu. And I think he went for a high-risk move when he should have, kind of based out and just stayed in that mount and did exactly what Moicano did. That would have been perfect. Beat him up as much as you can with the control and then look to, see what happens in the second and third round. But, when you're close to everybody's family and, he had his son there that was 2 months old, it's starting to get, I could separate and dismiss a lot of things I think I'm good at, but I think it's getting harder for me, and I just knowing the guy's family and all the like relatives and stuff like that. It's tough, man, because you feel responsible. Like again, I don't want to hear what a good coach I am, the coach of this fucking whatever it is. When my guys lose, every fight is a title fight to me. So I almost get confused. And trust me, the love I got in Paris was phenomenal. But it's just for me, it's always one fight at a time. And then again, the closer you are with somebody, the more it stings. And if I could trade my guys 95% winning for me being like, considered a good coach, I'd take that trade instantly right now. I don't really give a shit about the other things. It's just, it's starting to get a little hard. We're struggling a little bit, but we'll get back on track. But yeah, I just hope right now that Frivola is okay.
Yeah.
And we'll take it from there.
So Ken, I'll let you jump in here anytime. So, yeah, it's thrill versus agony, right? A couple of weeks ago, you guys are celebrating a world championship, and now it's sort of these back-to-back concussive blows for Frevola, even though he took some time off after the last one late 2023. This is a tough one to swallow, but I would say to you, right, in May of 2023, right, a year and a half, not even ago, right, your guy had won 3 in a row. He's in the top 15.
Yeah.
This sport is just really difficult. I think the hard thing is, and I didn't even intend to have this conversation, but going into this fight, right, he had competed, Frevola had, on 6 straight numbered cards and sort of has this reputation as an action warrior. And I think if you retire with a lot of money in the bank and it's a style that you can sustain, maybe there's some upside to it. But yeah, I think most people feel like at this point, maybe there needs to be a pivot because, because he's so capable in so many realms and he's such a good athlete,
Right. Yeah, I agree, John. We'll have to really sit back and really think about this one. And again, I don't want to see the kid get hurt. And again, he's got a beautiful son, beautiful wife. I tried to say just you got to really focus on what really matters in life. But, everybody gets sucked into the vortex of, excitement and fame and, look, even if you took everything away from me tomorrow, it would be a hard adjustment if I'm not going to a fight, I think, at this point. I think that's probably why even I'm still around. You know what I mean? So he's going to have to make some hard decisions, and we will figure it out as a family and a team.
Ray, I imagine Matt maybe had some feedback on that, perhaps that he felt the need that he had to kind of go for it a little bit, or you kind of okay. Okay, you're saying that. So did he have any feedback as to kind of what the struggle was with that matchup at that point in time? Or
well, what he didn't tell me in the corner, which he told me after the fight, is while I was talking to him, he was having trouble seeing out of one of his eyes. I forget what happened, because I asked him when did it happen. I forget what he said, but I tried to. I don't want to really talk about the fight too much with him, because let him decompress a little bit and spend time with his family. But he did tell me that he was compromised going into that 3rd round. So it is what it is. But
I just want to say 2 more things. So as an MMA fan, I do appreciate Paul Felder's reaction when they show the broadcast booth to that vicious knockout, and it mirrors Daniel Cormier's reaction a lot of the time. Now, it's hard for us when we're calling a fight and that happens. For me, I think it's an easier process as the play-by-play guy, because I have to cap the fight, right?
Yes,
and I'm not a fellow fighter. I'm not a professional athlete. And Kenny, Felder's reaction really jives and dovetails with a lot of the reactions you see from these fighters. They have genuine concern for the out-cold fighter, even when they're in a broadcast booth and charged with maybe talking about the finish, right? It's like just genuine concern for the out-cold fighter. So I just want to say that on Paul's behalf. The Iron Lung is obviously a good man. And then I guess just the whole notion, Ray, of sort of live by the sword, die by the sword, because Matt Frevola sort of tweeted as much or posted on X as much. I just want to get your whole thought on sort of that. And maybe you don't want to talk about that today, but the first fighting conversation I had with Dominic Cruz, he said to me, "These are swords. They'll kill me. I'm trying to not get hit by them." So I don't know if you have anything for us on that.
No, I mean, I agree with what you said about Dom, but yeah, it's a vicious sport. Not many people are going to get out of this sport without that agony of defeat. They're just not. And obviously, as a coach and as a fighter, you want to minimize that as much as possible.
Right.
But certain things aren't in your control. So
and Ray, wouldn't you say it's kind of a technique that you don't typically expect from that clinch when they're behind you too? So you don't see it coming. Like, I think that also was a part of Felder's reaction and everybody's, where it was like, where the hell did that come from? You don't really train for situations like that. And that was a scary one.
That was a scary one. And he actually, I think his height really helped him on that, because he could control the head. He had the other arm. And, I mean, like, the one thing that we were most concerned about in the fights were the knees too, because of when you got that type of height, man, you just lift that knee up, it's at your head. Yeah. It's not, without even trying. So he did a good job spinning him around. He caught him off guard again, and hats off to him. He got a win, and he got a win in dramatic fashion.
Well, we look forward to whatever the rebuild holds for Matt Frivola, and presumably it'll be some time off. But he's got a lot of internal support with the UFC, to be sure. And I appreciate his willingness to want to put on a show. And there are fighters who are cut from that cloth, at least in some part. And even if this fight maybe had to be a wrestling grappling equation, he had his moments, and we love the family, and hopefully people understand that in my maybe failed attempts to inject comedy into the conversation. I do want to ask you about Wonder Boy and Joaquin Buckley, but I do want to ask another thing or two on Paris if I could. So your guy kicks off the main card, and then where are you for the rest of the fight night?
We go to obviously we see the doctor, they take him to the hospital, then they shipped us right back to the hotel. And I think at that point I'm kind of delirious, and we get to Steve had it on his phone, so we watched the remainder of the fights in his bedroom. But he's got a picture of me during one of the fights, John. I mean, I passed out. Like, this never happens. He takes a picture. I slept, maybe it was 10 minutes, but then I pop up and it's like you're brand new again. But I went out during one of the fights, but I got to see the last two for sure.
So you took a nap, and we'll have to get that photo, Cody. Perhaps you could chase that.
No, Dev, I told him that.
Oh, we'll chase the photo, Ray. We'll chase the photo. So you fall asleep, and then you get back up, and you're gallivanting with women wearing an Anik Florian podcast t-shirt. Is that how the night went down?
That's kind of the way. That's kind of the way it went down.
All right. Okay. Look at this guy, man. This guy.
Come on, you gotta love those women. Those are two class acts right there. And I want to shout out to. She had a crazy friend from New York, Kim. Shout out to Kim.
Who had a crazy friend?
Heidi. Yeah.
Oh, not that picture.
But
with respect, we need you to reach out to Steve Lee, manager of Longo's MMA. There is a picture, with a beautiful photo of Karen Bryant and Ray Longo and Heidi Dean.
That's the only picture we're looking at right now.
No, but listen, I need you.
I want to hold on. I wanted to thank those women. They took care of my wife the whole time too. She feels like she's part of the UFC family now. She had a fantastic time, and partly because of them. And wait, before I forget too, let me shout out Kelly, who I promised I'd give her a shout out. She's a huge fan of the show and the UFC.
Let's go, Kelly. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Kelly, you got your shout out.
And
but
Kim
she travels all over the world.
So and Kelly, we'll spend as much time as you want on Kelly. Now, Kim, right, to spend 5 or 7 seconds on Kim. She does not listen to the program, right? Is that your phone, Raymond?
Yeah. I'm going to say... that was my phone, but man, you got good ears.
Everybody loves Raymond. Yeah, tell my children.
Yeah, sure you hear everything.
Big sirens.
No, Kim is a friend of. I don't know if she watches the show, but if I get a chance, I'll put this girl in the movie. She is fucking bonkers, man. Holy crap!
Look at this guy, man. Casting on the road.
I'm a casting director at this.
Bonkers.
Oh, she's gonna play the quirky best friend in some movie. Because that's what she is. She's funny.
This is the way we walk in New York, right? You like that Onyx track? This is the way we walk in New York on social media. So is Ray Longo MMA back on Instagram? Is that breaking news?
100%.
Wow, no more 9358. Just Ray Longo.
Cody MMA. Cody. See, that's what I'm talking about. Cody did that, but maybe you hit a little of the old White Devil that night, or smoked some weed. We did it right in front of you.
Wow.
Yeah, see what I'm talking about? Sean O'Malley.
I've been getting messages from I'm glad that I know that is you.
Man.
All right. So for the Nassourdini Mavov fight, right?
Oof.
Kenny bet 1 Bitcoin on Imavov. He won 63,000 American dollars. So
I wish.
Where were you for the Nassourdini Mavov Brendan Allen scrap?
I did watch that fight in the hotel room on the phone.
You know what, Kenny? Can you lead us off on the co-main event? I don't know if this guy was sleeping, if this committing adultery.
Listen. Wait, no. I loved the fight. I thought, come on, Brendan Allen's first round, thought the strategy was good. Second round, he loses. Third round, Imavov came out, and then I thought Brendan Allen really pushed it towards the end. I like that kid, Brendan Allen. I think what they did to him with making him take that piss test after the weigh-in, he had to wait 4 hours. You're dry as hell. I think that was 100% wrong, and I hope it wasn't intentional. But I think that had an effect on the fight, and I think that's where Imavov has to, say that sucks, because that was a close fight. To me, that was a very close fight.
So, Kenny, when that whole thing played out, that Brendan Allen news, and, some will criticize me for maybe leaning into it on Instagram, and certainly these tests and these type of things happen, but with everything I've ingested over the years, going back in for more blood because they didn't get enough, at what point is enough? The guy has got to compete. He has just cut weight. So, Kenny, I don't know if you have anything on that. We'll certainly take everything you have on Nassourdine Imavov getting the win, and anything else on the co-main kit.
Yeah, let's talk about that first. I'll say this. Listen, I don't think there's some conspiracy, to set Imavov for the win or anything like that. I don't believe that. However, when you're fighting at the highest level, I say this all the time, a bad hair day may be the difference between you winning and losing, right? And you saw it. It was a close-ish fight. It was a close fight. And, these are little things that could swing your way or the other way. And, any type of stress that you experience, be it physical, mental, spiritual, whatever, can have an effect to you on fight night. So it's unfortunate that it happened. But all that said, I thought Allen had a great first round. He was successful with that initial takedown. And then Imavov made some great adjustments, and he was ready for that level change. And he was sprawling like his life depended on it. And he was just on point, just looked like a completely different fighter. And I think it totally threw Allen off. And once Allen was unsuccessful with the takedowns, I think a lot of frustration started to set in, not to mention some physical fatigue.
So it's interesting with all these divisions and the relative depth at 85. This is a big win for Nassourdine Imavov, and I actually wasn't even going to think about any sort of pre-fight circumstance. A lot of the elite middleweights sort of want to lean in on Brendan Allen. I think he's an easy target, right? Like some of these guys just have a way of rubbing you one way or the other, and so I think there have been middleweights out there, Marvin Vettori and the champion Dricus du Plessis, waiting for their opportunity after this extended winning streak to go at Brendan Allen, but we'll see, Ken Flo. I mean, you believe in Imavov, certainly to the extent to which you put most of your money on the kid. So how high is the ceiling?
I think he's got a really high ceiling. I think it comes down to him getting a little bit more experience. There are times where I think mentally he gets a little overwhelmed with that pressure, and that's where Allen was successful, even in the striking realm. However, I think Imavov on a technical level and on a volume level was superior on the feet to Brendan Allen. That was clearly the issue. But he's also really making good improvements with his grappling. We saw him stay composed even when he was in some difficult spots there against Allen. So he is improving. There's no question about it. With some more experience, I think he'll be knocking on that door for a title shot. So a devastating striker, knockout power, big for the division. He's an evolving fighter, and this is another one that is going to be a feather in his cap where he can point to as a big-time confidence builder, in my opinion.
Hey, Raymond.
Yes.
Sorry to call you Raymond more than once in the program today. So I have a few items for you on UFC 307, if I could.
Let's do it.
So Mike Valley Flow Striking Academy will be in Juliana Pena's corner in Salt Lake City. He was on the program last week and suggested that Juliana Pena is not going to Salt Lake City early. She has since made comments about that publicly, I believe on MMA Junkie. I think one of her coaches suggests that if you are in shape, you are in shape. Kenny has fought at altitude, at elevation is also an okay way to put it. But I'm curious if both of you guys have any thoughts on that, because the overwhelming majority of fighters that I talk to want to go out early and try to get ahead of that. And this fighter is taking a decidedly different approach. Ray, what do you have for us on that, my man?
I'm going to say huge mistake. Look, medically, I think back in the day, Kenny, I think it was that you had to get there like 2 or 3 weeks early or like the day of. And I don't think she has the option to get there the day of. So I know I don't. The altitude thing is for real. I go back to Cain Velasquez not going to Mexico. You know what I mean?
And Cain had amazing conditioning.
100.
Cain had amazing conditioning.
For a heavyweight, that's who you want to model yourself after. Cain Velasquez, great wrestling and great gas. He was a huge Merab at that point. Right. He wasn't stopping. So for him, when he made that, and he is of Mexican descent, which I think probably threw something into me. I got in my genes, I got in my blood, whatever. Yeah. But that fight was the downfall. That was not good. And that looked. Just the gas tank just wasn't there. And think about this, Kenny. When you're a guy, like imagine Merab, he relies on his gas tank and he goes into that fight on a quarter tank. Hey, that's got to be there you go with the cognitive dissonance of what the fuck happened? Where am I? This is not normal.
Right.
So look, I think she's got a good opponent in front of her. That comes into play too. But I'm saying that's to me, and I hope it works out with her because she's a sweetheart and I really like her a lot. But I think that's a huge mistake. At the conditioning that point, like unless he qualifies the statement with something, but.
Well, she said she fought in Denver, right? She has experience and has realized success before. Kenny, it just definitely is the minority approach. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, especially given the fact that it's a 5-round fight. This is a 5-round title fight. So its effect could be significant. And for me, when I went out there, I fought in Denver. I went out almost a month ahead of time. And to make matters worse for myself is I was injured heading into that fight against Joe Lozon. So I didn't fight for 2 weeks before that fight. And then when I went out there for, I was there a couple weeks. I couldn't even train back then. I was trying to rehabilitate my back. But I was going for walks in the mountains. I was breathing in the air. I was, doing whatever conditioning I could to get used to that. And let me tell you, even after a few weeks, when I did my first proper pad session and my first proper sparring session, I had a cold spot in my chest like I've never felt before. The elevation is real. And 100%. To make matters worse, potentially for Pena, is the fact that in Salt Lake City, that's even higher elevation than what I experienced in Denver. So, hopefully she doesn't experience any of that, but that is a risky decision, in my opinion, on the part of Pena and her team.
Yeah, and John, I was at that fight with when Kenny fought Lazone, and I had Soteropoulos fighting, who was known for his gas tank. His lips were blue after the first round, like blue. And you got to remember, on that card, Frankie Edgar lost to Gray Maynard, and Frankie was an Energizer Bunny at that point. Now, when I asked Frankie at that time, he said 100% had nothing to do with the loss. I totally disagree, especially based on what he did after that. I mean, again, another guy known for his gas tank. The only thing I could say, and I don't, again, maybe women are different. If she was in Colorado and it had no effect on her, I know there's people that have a gene that processes alcohol differently. They could drink. They don't get drunk. Who the hell knows? But if she was in Colorado and she said she didn't feel anything, that's a really good sign that she'll be okay, because I thought Colorado was way worse than Utah when I was there. I don't care what they say is higher, but Colorado, to me, was definitely a lot worse. And when I was in Utah, I don't think I felt a thing. So at the end of the day, she might be all right, but it's still a real thing.
Well, Raquel Pennington lives and trains in Colorado. The fight is in Salt Lake City, Utah this weekend. Alex Pineda, Khalil Roundtree Jr., Ray in the main event. We're going to get Kenny's thoughts later. Some people feel like this southpaw striker, Khalil Roundtree Jr., is ready to shock the world here October 5. What do you think about the main event, Raymond?
I think he's got the explosiveness and the power to change a fight on an instant, but he's got a guy that's been in there with a lot of really good heavy punches, fast. This guy's a warrior, and he hits like a train. That's the problem. It's like it's going to be like, can Roundtree take his power? Because that's going to be the difference in the fight. But Roundtree, I think, based on what we've seen in the past, anybody he hits, he looks like he's not even hurting them. He's dismantling them. So firstest with the mostest is the bestest in this one, man. You got to be careful.
There you go. All right. We know, however, jet lagged, you have to head to the gym. In the final 30 seconds, we have you, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, born February 11, 1983. Sounds young to me and Ken Flo. He's 41. He's 12-7-1 in the UFC. And this weekend he fights New Mansa Joaquin Buckley. I know you got a lot of love for the Thompson family. What do you have for us on WB before we let you fly?
And that love's not going anywhere. I got WB. He's going to do what he always does. I think Buckley's, knows what his easiest path to victory is. But, look, I don't know when the age is going to kick in and be, do something. But he looks on certain levels of his game like nothing's changed. So, I'm pulling for Wonder Boy. That has nothing against Buckley. It could be anybody. I'm going to pull for that guy. So he's got the tools to do it.
I just wish that like you and I could do a friendly wager on this fight. Right. I mean, I'm calling the fight, right? But it would be fun to do like a friendly wager because Thompson's your guy and you know, Buckley's my guy. No, I mean, Buckley's been on the program, right? It'd be fun to be able to do that. But, you know, we can't have fun all the time in this world, right? Like I came up with a top 10 list today that I thought was going to be funny and everybody thinks I lead the league in meanness. Certainly maybe not malice, but, you know, so with that, I guess we'll just let you go, huh? Why are you guys laughing with me or at me at this moment?
I'm just laughing. I'm just laughing in general. I don't know where I am right now. So we never got to your top 10 thing. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah, I think we should keep it that way. I may tell the audience once we let you go, attend to your dog. Just kidding. I don't know whose dog it was. I'm just kidding. Could be mine. But on the other side, I might tell the listeners what that top 10 list was all about. I may not, you know. I mean, one of our listeners happens to be one of my favorite people in the world. Great handshake, Sal, the bulldozer Frivola.
Right.
So
don't talk behind my back. Do it in front of me. Come on.
No, I just having a little fun, right? Since we've done 515 Ray Longo minutes, you know, my twin brother and I were just joking around. He's texting me now. He's going to kill me. So. No, we were just joking around. Like we always shower you with praise. You're constantly banking world champion. So I was sort of joking, like, how about we come up with a top 10 questions you would not ask Ray Longo after one of his fighters gets finished? Is that like cold-hearted or funny? It's cold-hearted, right? Yeah. No,
Ray's biting his tongue right now.
Oh, really, Kenny? I mean, the guy's definitely showing a certain degree of sociopathy here. No, I mean is you might not have. Now, do you have touch yourself on the left side? Do you have a heart? Is there a heart in there?
Oh, I love when you guys go back.
No, seriously, but when you come up with these things, do you get like a stabbing pain in your heart? No. All right, I got to get out of here. I love you guys.
Thank you, man. I love you too.
We'll address it next week. Take it easy. Have a great show.
I'll call you later today. Hopefully,
100%. Definitely do that. All right, take it easy.
Ray Longo minute every week here on the Anik and Florian podcast.
That's too good.
Oh, and that finally, my brother's laughing. He's like, "Yes, sociopath." Ha 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 ha. I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. All right, okay. My gosh, man, I'm sensitive too, right? I'm sensitive too, but you know, let's go 3 wide once more and bring in Big Gun Brian Petrie if we could, as we segue to UFC 307. What's up, Bri?
What's going on, boys?
So a couple things real quick before we get into the predictions and then, of course, your money.
Yeah.
So Belal Muhammad will be in Juliana Pena's corner for the first time.
Oh, cool.
So I will tell you that. Fighters who have weighed in as a backup and still have not fought for the belt. It's a longer list than this, but among them, Mateusz Gamrot, Vicente Luque, who missed weight by, I think, 12 pounds because it was extremely short notice. Manon Fior most recently. Diego Lopes, Ken Flo, and Brian now tabbed as the backup fighter for UFC 308 in Abu Dhabi. And it is interesting when it comes to the weight cut, right? It was sort of a treacherous cut for the Ortega fight that didn't happen, right? Then the Ige circumstances. Then he turns around again, fights Brian Ortega at featherweight, has a relatively good weight cut, and now he's going to weigh in as the backup here in 24, 25 days, Ken Flo. It's crazy to think about the career progression, but we had Corey Sandhagen on here recently, and he's not weighing in as a backup. So different strokes for different folks, I guess.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't have done it at 145 pounds. And I tell you what, Diego Lopes is, I think, maybe taller than I am. And, you know, maybe not as thick boned as me, but that's not an easy cut, dude. That's not an easy cut. So here's a guy that is clearly committed to the game. You know, we talk about it all the time. He's hungry. He's always ready to fight. And that's a good sign. I just hope it doesn't take a toll on his body, because that's a quick turnaround. I mean, these are quick turnarounds, one after another. Give your body a break, bud.
Well, Bri, I mean, did it take any sort of toll on Alexander Volkanovski? He has weighed in as a backup before, if I'm not mistaken. And then obviously his championship schedule. I also want to, Bri, celebrate Diego Lopes being tabbed as such, right? Because he is now in this mix with Topuria and Holloway and Volkanovski. But man, it's been breakneck for him. And here we go again.
Yeah, and listen, he's the reason he's in this position. He's taking the Ige fights on 2 hours notice. He's not saying no, and he's going out there and performing. And this is the guy that lost in the Contender Series, and this is the guy that has now is number 3 in the world or whatever, and is back up for. I mean, everything he has done, and the reason that he is where he's at, it's because of him, and everyone needs to applaud that. And yeah, he's big. I saw a picture with him and Robbie Lawler. He looked bigger than Robbie Lawler, who fought at 170, 185. So, yeah, that cut to 145 is tough. But, again, he doesn't care. He wants the shot. He wants to prove he's the best, and you got to love that.
And he's got a lot of those Merab Dvalishvili ingredients, just that sort of iron will and the discipline. He's always training and coaching and getting better. All right, today's main event challenge is presented by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you will hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. All right, so first things first, got a direct message on Big Norm. So Anik Florian podcast listener. So origins of Big Norm. So I guess it comes from the Dog or Pass podcast out of Canada. Is that correct? Paul Shag, is that his name?
So I love Paul Shag and Cody Saftik. I have never heard them say that. I got a ton of messages too, like, you ripped off Shag and Cody. I love those guys. I listen to the show when I can. They're the best. But I actually saw it on Twitter like 2 years ago from a random whatever, and it just seeped in. But I've been getting a ton of those messages as well. I DM'd Shag and Cody. We follow each other on Twitter, and I said, I didn't mean to steal your bit or rip you off. That wasn't my intention. They're like, no, dude, you can use it. It's cool, whatever. And I don't even think they really told me they took credit for it as well. It's just kind of one of those things that float around. But yeah, I got bombarded with those messages. I'm like, fuck, did I steal that from them? But no, I just want to shout out Paul Shag, and then I'm going to shout you out again on the backside because it's the greatest utterance in the history of this program. I just wanted to, for the sake of the show, acknowledge perhaps what might have been the source for Norma Dumont, Big Norm, right? Norm. Big weekend for the women's bantamweight division, right? Got to think Big Norm's watching. Anyway, wherever it originated, we love Big Norm. And I will say, as somebody who has been paid on a microphone in some capacity since 2001, you can't find me a human being in the world who can utter Big Norm the way Brian said it in his one take to do so. It's like Belal. Belal happen again.
Merab, you one shot.
Again. Yeah.
Can you just say it one time right now for me?
So much Big Norm. I mean,
it was the way, dude, it was coming off like John asked you the question. So what do you think about the matchup? Yada. And you're like, well, Big Norm, and it just it just killed me, dude.
So yeah, we'll cut up the other one, the original, obviously, but that was pretty good as well. Also, before we do get to the picks for UFC 307, I would like to share a comment from one of our YouTube viewers, if I could. This is about you guys and your picks this year. At Kiki Kevin 86 or Kuka Kevin 86. So he writes, in the main event challenge, Ken Flo, you're going to want to listen to this shit. In the main event challenge, assuming risking $100 on plus money underdogs and betting to win $100 on favorites, which was our old system, Big Gun is picking 57.1%, right? Take that every day of the week, but down $996 for the year. Mr. Ken Flo's elbows bless is at 56.6%, but down about $2,300, right? So you guys are both hitting at a pretty good clip. That isn't money bet, right? So the money you sort of throw out, you just take the percentage. And then he followed up with saying moneyline sports are hard. And he has been tracking to play the game alongside you guys since Tom Aspinall, Marcin Tybura in July of 2023.
I love it.
Fun. So
I love it. I love people that do that because 2 years ago, I ended the year at 64%, just picking fight, not betting.
How about that?
And I'm like, oh my God. And some guy DM'd me and I shared it on Twitter. He's like, dude, you would fail in class. 64 is a D. I'm like, you don't understand. And we had a back and forth. He just didn't get it. I'm like, 64% is like, I'm probably never touch there again. So yeah, I digress. Thank God we have a smart commenter who's having fun with it. That's awesome.
Got to be even keeled, right? No matter how you're handicapping. I started 8-2 in the NFL on the podcast with my twin brother, and I just went 0-5. And I can look at it as though I'm 8-7, or I can, cry in my cinnamon toast crunch.
I was gonna text you and Jason. I've been obviously watching Anik vs. Anik. It's great, and I only bet MMA, but I'm really keyed up for football. My Bengals started 0-3. I needed something, so. A couple weeks ago when the Buccaneers played the Lions, the Buccaneers were 5.5 point underdogs. I'm like, I think that's off. So I won and doubled my money. I'm like, oh, NFL's easy. Since then, I've been 0-7. So it's been
Vegas
rough.
is sort of kicking all of us in the chin. All right, enough about that. Main event challenge, UFC 307, Pineda versus Roundtree Jr. New exercise, right? We have killed the pronunciation of the week, at least for now. I'm going to provide you guys the odds on the entire fight card. I'll start with the fights we aren't picking before getting into the other fights in the event that you would like to have a preliminary bet, which is always on the table. All right, fights we are not picking all of these odds via DraftKings Sportsbook. Tim Means Business minus 205 taking on Court McGee plus 170. Tisha Pennington minus 170 versus Carla Esparza plus 142. Final fight for the former two-time UFC strawweight champion Carla Esparza. Ryan Spann minus 325 against Oben St. Preux, who is plus 260. Cesar Almeida minus 380 versus Ihor Potieria plus 300. And no line as yet, Austin Hubbard versus Alexander Hernandez, that fight in the men's lightweight division. All right, first preliminary selection. Gentlemen, at strawweight, 14th ranked Yasmin Lucindo minus 175, taking on 6th ranked Marina Rodriguez plus 145. BP, a lot of big fight experience, of course, for Marina Rodriguez, and an opportunity for the streaking Lucindo. What do you have for us on this one at 115 pounds?
Yeah, I like both these female fighters. Listen, Lucindo impressed me in her debut. It was a loss against Howargy, but she has since rebounded well and has won 3 in a row and has looked good. Is really well-rounded game, has a submission on the record, likes to go for takedowns, but is really crisp with her hands as well and is tough and durable. But I got burned last weekend because Ian Cutelaba, that old guy who's been in the UFC, not really old, but he's been in the UFC forever. He turned back the clock and beat up a guy that I thought was going to win, right? And I think UFC experience matters so much. And Marina Rodriguez, that's how they say it there in Brazil there, John. She is phenomenal, right? Yeah, she's a little bit on the older end for this, but that's fine. But she's been in there with everyone. She's 1-3 in her last 4. Quick hands, fast. I think there's some fights that she could have won in that spot as well, besides getting caught by Amanda Lemos. But I like Marina Rodriguez there because I think she's going to be faster, and I think she's going to be able to get up. I think the takedowns have been a problem. So, Johnny, I know you like when I say it, so give me Marina Rodriguez.
Marina.
That's good.
I like that. I'm trying not to lean too much into this, but it's like I'm completely distracted. Like when he says this name in particular together, right? Marina, whatever the fuck he does to that first R.
People, Jason and Anik say, "Hey, listen, we're getting rid of the pronunciation week." I think the real reason is I am so good now at doing it that even the people's names, they go, "Is that how you really say my name?" Because this guy's fucking killing it. I think that's what happened.
Just absolutely marauding it. Ken Flo, would you like to give us a selection on the strawweights or no?
I sure would. All right. So I like Lucindo here. I really like her striking. I like her overall game. I think that may be the difference here. Rodriguez is a problem for sure. And I think that there's a lot of validity to what Brian's saying, and that could definitely be the case. So I'm not like all in on Lucindo, but I do think, her style of striking could pose some problems for Marina Rodriguez, who basically kind of has that Muay Thai style. And because of that, her footwork sometimes is lacking there. So I'm going to go with Lucindo.
All right, next up, featured prelim at welterweight. I think this is what my locker room bump is going to sound like, right? When they show the fighters before, I'm going to say, coming up next, New Mansa versus Old Man. So, do you think that?
Oh, come on!
Am I offending everybody today? Like, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson doesn't care.
No, he won't care.
New Mansa versus Old Mansa. Number 11, Joaquin Buckley, minus 205. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson with that number 9 ranking is plus 170. So, BP, we'll start with you here. 4 straight wins have positioned New Mansa just outside the top 10 here. He is 30 years old, out of St. Louis, Missouri, USA, and now draws the biggest name of his career by a considerable margin, I think. The former 2-time title challenger, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who is 41, hasn't fought in 2024. What do you make of the welterweights here? And the relatively big price, I think, next to the name Buckley, minus 205.
I like the big price. I think it's warranted. I mean, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, he's a sneaky 41. He's a very youthful guy appearance-wise, but he is a sneaky 41. He's been fighting for a long time with MMA and then the kickboxing prior to that. And the takedown defense is just, it's going to be a problem for me. I mean, Belal took him down 7 times. Gilbert Burns took him down 3 times, and he doesn't really work quick to his back. Shavkat Rakhmonov took him down and submitted him. I mean, Shavkat is a beast. But, yeah, Joaquin Buckley, who his last time out against Nursultan Rozabuyev, took him down a bunch, right? And that guy's like 6'8" for 170 and was killing people. And Joaquin smartly took him down and is really showing good cardio and just good ground and pound as well, and submission awareness. I mean, he's not going to go to the ground and tap you out, but I think he's going to take you down and beat you up. Yeah. And I think that's what Wonderboy Thompson's in store here. He did make a little comment. I saw his coach said, we're ready for that. We're ready for that. And I love that. I love that they're preparing for that. But I just think Joaquin, younger guy, strong dude, cardio doesn't give out, and he can crack as well on the feet. He's not like a fish out of water on the feet, but I do like him to take the fight to the ground and beat him up and probably get a decision win here.
Yeah, Ken Flo, interesting to hear BP acknowledge the Nursultan Rujaboyev win and pronounce the name right as well. You know, the kid can't pronounce Tim Means. He's dropping a fucking Nursultan Rujaboyev on you. Ken Flo. Last win for Wonderboy Thompson was in 2022 against Kevin Holland. Seemingly money coming in on Buckley. Prices changed about 35 cents. What do you make of the welterweights, Ken Flo?
I didn't hear that. I'm a huge Wonderboy fan, John Anik. Don't do that to me. Listen, so I'm a little bit biased here, but yes, there is no question Buckley is going to be a really tough out for Wonderboy. However, let's not forget, against that beast of a man in Shavkat Rakhmonov, he was winning that fight. Wonderboy was winning that fight. He showed phenomenal footwork. And I think what was surprised me, because I got a chance to talk to Wonderboy after that fight, was the fact that during that fight, Wonderboy broke his foot. And what happened when he broke his foot is he was not as mobile. And when he wasn't as mobile, Shavkat was able to cut off the cage and then look for the takedown. And then he was able to take Wonderboy out. Now, Wonderboy has shown susceptibility to takedowns to the ground. Of course, that is not his specialty. So I could definitely see Buckley giving him problems down there. Maybe not threatening with a submission so much, but certainly with something in the order of a TKO. I think Buckley's a very powerful guy. He's a very strong guy. He's showing a lot of versatility to his game now and showing a lot of confidence as well. But I think Wonderboy, that unorthodox style of striking, his speed, I think still can be on point and pose some problems. So give me Wonderboy here in this one.
Nicely broken down. Terrible pronunciation of mobile. There's no way Dr. Gus Florian taught you to say mobile when it comes to mobility, and you fucking said it twice. It's mobile. No?
It could be mobile. It's UK. You can, the UK. Yeah.
I'm saying where we grew up in the Metro West pocket of Massachusetts, your dad, however Peruvian, there's no way.
Yeah, it's like harassment and harassment, right? Yeah.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time, but paging Dr. Gus. All right. Yeah. Now we get to the main card live on ESPN Plus pay-per-view. My 100th straight pay-per-view. Let's hope I get there. Ooh. Middleweight, 15th ranked at welterweight, but competing here at 85 for the second successive time is Kevin Holland, minus 162. Roman Dolidze, 10th ranked middleweight in the world, is plus 136. Ken Flo, we will lead with you here. Roman Dolidze spinning it around after the short notice win over Anthony Lionheart-Smith. That was up at light heavyweight back on June 29th, UFC 303. And Holland, after 5 straight starts at welterweight, now making it 2 in a row at middleweight and trying to make it 2 straight wins here against Dolidze. Pay-per-view opener, Ken Flo, talk us through it if you would.
Well, I think that Holland here at 185 pounds is going to have a difficult matchup, in my opinion, here against Dolidze, who, when he's on his game, can be a menacing grappler. And Holland has shown that, good takedowns can be a kryptonite for him. So he's going to have to be on point with his ability to establish range. But even there, Dolidze is not a small guy at all. And he's certainly going to be the more technical fighter overall, without question, the better striker. However, Dolidze showed a lot of improvement with his striking in his last fight against Anthony Smith. I know that was at 205 pounds, but the same thing is going to apply here. As long as his weight cut is good and he manages his pacing in this fight, I like Dolidze here. Potentially by submission, but I think more than anything else, I think he's going to take Holland to the mat, control him, chip away with his striking. The other thing Dolidze has to be careful with is not playing the head games of Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland will talk. Dolidze can be emotional inside the cage. He's got to keep his wits about him here.
Yeah. Crowd's always a factor in Kevin Holland fights, and that's why they trot him out in a lot of big settings like this one at UFC 307. BP, Dolidze 7-3 in the UFC, Went 5 rounds, of course, with Nasruddin Imavov. That was a main event earlier this year and part of all this good experience that the Georgian has accrued. How do you think he matches up here with Kevin Trailblazer Holland, Bry?
This was my toughest fight for sure. Both these guys have taken so much money from me because I get them wrong every single time. Delite's a big dude. He looked great at 205. He landed 100 strikes on Anthony Smith and dominated the fight. Looked good. Didn't land one takedown. And that's the thing, his last couple fights, he hasn't really been hunting the takedowns as much as I think he should. This fight, I think he will. But is it a matter of I'm cutting 85? Is my gas tank there? Whatnot? But you can't stand with Kevin. I don't think. I think Delite's head movement is slow. Not really there. I also think his hands are very slow compared to Kevin Holland, whose straight punches are great. Kevin Holland also punches really well moving back. He's long, even though he's going to be giving up a little bit of, body weight size in there. I'm on dissension here with Ken Flo, man. I'm going Kevin Holland here. I think Kevin Holland's going to have a nice day on the feet. I think if he can avoid the takedowns, and when he does get taken down, he's pretty active off his back. I mean, I know he's a black belt, but I like his punches and his what he does off his back. And Delite likes to go for submissions. He's tricky on the ground, but after that round 1, I think he kind of just reserves to be like, okay, I'm on top of you now. I'm going to win this round as opposed to going for submissions. So I like Kevin Holland in a gritty fight here. But give me Kevin Holland.
All right, Bri, grab a sip of water because right back to you. Women's bantamweight division, 3rd ranked Kayla Harrison, -800. Look, he grabbed the fucking neon green Yeti and took a sip of water. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, how coachable is this guy? Kayla Harrison, -800 if you want to wet your beak with that. 2nd ranked contender, Ketlen Vieira, is +550. So in some respects, Harrison already looks like the best fighter in this division, or at least the biggest problem in this division. I think the betting odds would dovetail with that sentiment. She submitted Holly Holm in her UFC debut. That was at UFC 300. Now it's Ketlen Vieira. She's got 8 UFC wins, and she's really been on the cusp for a long time. BP only lost in her last 4 fights, a split January 2023 to the now champion Raquel Pennington. So good fight, perhaps more competitive than the betting odds would indicate, perhaps not. What do you have for us on the 35ers, Kid?
Middletown, Ohio, stand up. Kayla Harrison's a midi. I believe she reps Massachusetts and Florida a little more than Ohio, but she's an Ohio girl. Anyway, amazing debut. Kenny's watched her many times in PFL. She was born for this. She was ready for this. I love that she's getting down to 135. I mean, she's not a small female. She's jacked. She's jacked. But listen, she looked pretty good in her debut. I thought there were some things that could have been maybe cleaned up, but listen, she beat Holly Holm. She submitted her. That's a feather in her cap. Ketlen Vieira, this girl is tough to really get a hold of. She has 94% takedown defense. She's big in there. She's tough against the cage. She makes you fight at her range, makes her fight at her pace. She does that with everyone she fights. She's really, really good at that. She doesn't explode off the screen, but she gets the job done. She's running into Kayla Harrison, though, who I think has the best judo in that division. Not many people are going to experience that strength, those hips, the tosses that she's going to bring at you, and she's physically phenomenal. 800 is a bit high. I am going to play Kayla Harrison, but not by -800. I think she's going to get the job done here. I think she's going to win this fight, and I think she's going to have a sick call out because she's really good on the microphone as well. So, big fan of Kayla Harrison. I think she gets it done. Yeah,
I really like watching her fight. The aggression. I like the microphone aggression as well.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to think about like how many different bets I might have on a fight night when I was not contractually prevented from doing so. It would just be an absolute carnage out there. Ken Flo, Harrison, Vieira, what do you have for us on this?
If she's not your favorite fighter at this point, John, she will be, I think. And especially after this fight, I definitely respect that. That's impressive. 94% takedown defense. The thing is, not only does Kayla have the best judo in the division, she has the best judo to ever compete inside the octagon.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other American man or female that has won the Olympic gold in judo. She's done it twice. And to do that as an American, it shows you are a special kind of athlete. And I say this all the time, and she really is. And I think she is showing improvement, and she's in the right place, an American top team to get better and to test her skills all the time. I think she, experiencing that loss in the PFL, I think was really motivating for her. It reset her. And I think she's on a trajectory to get that belt. I truly believe that. And I think that will be in the very near future. I like Harrison here. And Ketlen, she's got some skills. She's good everywhere, but I think this is a good fight for Harrison to go out there and potentially get another finish here by TKO.
All right, maybe something on the proposition market, DraftKings Sportsbook later in the week. And we'll see if Kayla Harrison can do something this weekend to supplant Dan Hooker as my favorite fighter. I change it all the time. So sorry, Bryce Mitchell, my former favorite fighter. All right, men's bantamweight division, 11th ranked Mario Bautista, maybe my future favorite fighter.
There you go.
He's minus 148. Taking on 10th ranked Jose Aldo Jr., plus 124. Actually came across some footage from Kenny Florian and Jose Aldo at UFC 136, October 8th, 2011, earlier today. Yeah, I mean, some of that stuff I didn't feel like seeing, you know. I think I have a little bit of selective memory about some of that fight. He did elbow you once in the face. I don't remember that.
He may have. I don't know.
Anyway, I mean, you took it like a goddamn champion, not a scratch on you after the fact. But anyway, Aldo's back here. Bautista, though, is the betting favorite, Brian.
Yeah.
He's a bull out of the MMA lab. He's 8-2 in the UFC. He's won his last 6. So Bautista fought Corey Sandhagen on short notice in what was his 2019 UFC debut. Ricky Simone now, best win, the one that punctuated this 6-fight winning streak. Strength of schedule, though, Bri, just okay for me overall when you break it down. So a huge step up here against Jose Aldo. Jonathan Martinez could not handle it. How do you think Bautista handles this challenge, BP?
Yeah, I was a little lukewarm on Bautista when he first showed up, and he's really grown on me. And the Ricky Simone fight was phenomenal. 112 strikes landed. He was flowing in there, and he's a big, thick kid for the division as well, with some good grappling as well. But that ain't gonna work on Jose Aldo. You ain't gonna grapple Jose Aldo. I know he likes to mix things up here, but if Merab can't get a takedown on Jose, I don't think Bautista is. Bautista's gonna have to strike with him, just like Jonathan Martinez did. Jose's comeback fight, essentially, and Jose looked great. You know, when you get a little older, that quick twitch muscle that Jose has usually kind of goes away. He still has it. He still has really good head movement. He counters really well, especially to the body. He's really spicy in this fight. I wanted to take Jose Aldo so bad at the plus money, but I just think Bautista is just in a zone right now. I think he's really clicking. I think he's a special athlete. He's explosive. I think on the feet, he's going to give Jose some problems, especially later in the fight. I think Jose is going to have a good round 1, and then Bautista is going to kind of slip away here. However, Bautista, though, if you look at the Trevor Jones fight, he was winning that fight, and he got clipped. That always can happen to fighters. Obviously, Jose Aldo does have big power, doesn't give up on himself, but I'm going to go Bautista. I'm not running to the window on this one. This one is, I'm a little shaky on my pick, but I'm going to go Bautista.
Kenny, a lot of experience for Mario Bautista in the octagon, also just at the MMA lab sparring, but it just hits different, I think, for a lot of people when the King of Rio, Jose Aldo, is doing his thing, staring across the octagon, and then he starts whipping that leg into you and moving around the way he does. His retirement was quick. Hall of Fame class of 2023, comes back rather resoundingly against Jonathan Martinez. How do you think your former opponent, Jose Aldo, follows it up here at altitude against Bautista?
Jose Aldo is a master at work. I've talked about this at length. This is a guy that can do it all and can do it all at a very, very high level. I don't think people appreciate all the little things that he can do because there's very few mixed martial arts fighters that can do that. And it's not a whole lot of flash, but when you are a master at the fundamentals and you do all those things extremely well, you are a very difficult man to defeat. And I think that, Brian was talking about his speed. I think that's still the case. I still think he's very fast. I still think he's very explosive. Now, it could be that he shows up one day and he doesn't look that way, right? You can get old overnight inside the UFC's octagon. That has been a cliche that has been said in combat sports. I definitely think that's true. Sometimes you have a bad night, and that's your last night inside the competition circle. So, yeah, I think that Aldo still has it, though. And Bautista does have a lot of experience, but he doesn't have experience against high-level competition just yet. And that's what I was kind of waiting for. The way that Bautista can win this fight is through volume, though. Volume and aggression and pressure. That's how he can beat Aldo here. He could. He definitely could. I haven't seen that. He hasn't proven to me that he can do that against high-level competition just yet. So because of that, I'm sticking with the master, Jose Aldo.
Nicely laid out, as always. And that brings us to the final 2 fights of the night, both of the championship variety. First up, BP. Yeah. Women's bantamweight title, Raquel Pennington, minus 162. The returning former champion, now number 1 contender, Juliana Pena, plus 136. So Raquel Pennington, quickly, if I would. Ooh, we got the single shot for this. I love it. So I have a lot of respect for Raquel Pennington, the champion's career, just the hard work that I think a lot of us have seen from afar and up close. So she loses to Holly Holm in 2015 at UFC 184. At that point, she is 5-5 as a pro. Then she reels off 4 straight wins, 2 of them against former UFC champions Jessica Andrade and Miesha Tate. Then she loses to Amanda Nunes. Few fights later, loses to Holly Holm again. So this was UFC 246, huge card, headlined by Conor McGregor right before COVID, January 2020. I'm trying to be quick about this. She was 10-8 on that night in January of 2020. I was with her in a casino after the fight. She was totally disgusted, right? Second time Holly Holm has just frustrated the hell out of her. Since that time, 6 wins in a row, including the world title in January. She knows how to win rounds. Bryce, she knows how to win fights. And now here in her first defense, it'll be Juliana Pena. No love lost. Who do you think leaves Salt Lake City as the women's bantamweight champion?
So I love this fight on numerous. I love the heat between it, right? Juliana Pena likes to run her mouth, which I love, right? Because she can back it up. And Raquel Pennington, I thought her career was over when she kind of quit on the stool. Not kind of, she quit on the stool in Nunes. Like, a lot of fighters can't come back from that. Then she lost her next fight after that, but the resolve in the fact that she got married and she has a baby and she's happy and her life is finally coming together, and her whole life is, I'm training now, and she's now is finding this groove where I'm going to be me, I'm going to win fights. I know who I am, I know who I'm not. And she's looked really good. Her title fight against Silva looked phenomenal. And when I first got this fight, because Pena is someone who's a favorite of mine, I love the Amanda Nunes. Both performances. The second fight, she got dominated, but she never quit on herself. She gave it all, and the Nunes is a beast. The first fight took all Amanda Nunes' best and submitted her, which is crazy. So I'm a big fan of Pena. When this line first got announced, I was all over Pena, right? But I've been a little ice cold this year. I've been a little ice cold. I can't really trust my Midwest gut. I'm down 8 pounds. I'm skin and bones over here, guys. I'm skin and bones. You know what I mean? So I can't trust my Midwest gut. So what I got to do to flip the odds, because listen, I'm buying Jared Cannonier's crystals, right? I'm painting my face. I'm walking the house going Chama. I'm trying to get some new things going. I'm fading myself. I was all over Pena. I love the plus money. I'm going Pennington. I convinced myself I like her in this spot. I think her stand-up is phenomenal. I think her takedown defense has improved. She's going to really need to prove it against Pena, who is dangerous on the ground. You guys talked about earlier, Pena's not going out there early, which kind of scares me with everything. I'm sure she's preparing well with that team in Chicago, which are a bunch of studs. But I like Pennington here. I'm going to go Pennington. I'm going to go Raquel and Still.
Interesting breakdown, Brian. Also interesting to hear Pennington tell MMA Junkie that she did prepare for both Juliana Pena and Kayla Harrison, just given some of the injury history for Juliana Pena. And hey, if you are a fighter and you know the show must go on, maybe you want to do a little bit of homework on Kayla Harrison. Kenfo, Juliana Pena, arguably the meanest woman in MMA. I talk about this all the time. When you talk to her coaches, to a man, Rick Little, Mike Valley, they just lead with her meanness and not necessarily her skills, which are pretty evident as well. She is the owner of one of the biggest singular wins in MMA history. She is the underdog this weekend against Raquel Pennington.
Yes, sir. Pennington, she has the perfect name, Rocky. I mean, this is kind of who she is. It's not the prettiest thing when she goes out and competes, but she gets it done. She gets stronger as the fight goes on. So, yeah, absolutely a great Rocky story for sure. But I think she's going against another fighter in Pena who is similar in her approach. It's not the prettiest thing, but, man, she can grind out some wins. And I think the only difference here for me, and this is why I'm going to kind of bring a little bit of voodoo to counter the Cannoneer crystals of Brian Petrie here, but is that Pena is more of a finisher. If she has the opportunity to try to take you out with something, she can do that. Pennington doesn't necessarily have that, or from what I've seen, necessarily have that in her back pocket. Pennington is more of a grind out the rounds, win the fight over the course of like the whole thing, kind of break you mentally. Pena can do that as well, but she can submit you, and she's very aggressive with her TKO ability on the ground as well. So because of that, I'm leaning towards Pena. We haven't seen her in a little bit, but I think she's faced tougher competition overall. I'm curious to see, how she looks coming back here. But I'm leaning towards Pena. I think she gets it done. And new.
All right, and new from Ken Flo on the co-main event. That brings us to your headlining act, UFC 307 for the undisputed UFC light heavyweight championship. Alex Poatan Pereira minus 520, the betting favorite, taking on number 8 ranked contender Khalil Roundtree Jr., who is plus 390. So Poatan headlining a pay-per-view for the fifth time in the last 23 UFC pay-per-views. 27, I should say. My old math said 23. The point remains. It's already his third title defense, Bri, at 205 pounds, which I guess was a little bit surprising to me. He turned 37 in July, and now it'll be the lefty striker, Khalil Roundtree Jr. Wide price on DraftKings Sportsbook right now. How do you handicap the main event here in Salt Lake City, Utah, come Saturday night, BP?
So if you see the shirt I'm wearing, there's no secret. I'm only would take Poatan, right? But I love this fight. Strikers delight. Khalil Roundtree is a savage. This dude kicks fucking knees off, right? He kicks knees off. Like, he is a savage in there. I was there in Atlanta when he was landing those body kicks over Anders, your boy, and it sounded like bats, man. It was crazy. My flaw with Khalil is inconsistency. He hasn't really put up great consistency numbers. He lost to Machine Praknikov, which I really loaded up on him.
What did you just call him?
Machine Praknikov?
Oh, sorry. No, that's pretty good, man.
That's
pretty good.
Oh,
no, I don't know.
It's Praknikov.
That's pretty good. Sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
You're
right.
Yeah.
Sorry. As you were. Sorry.
He lost a decision to him, and it's all this power. And Praknikov, listen, he's been dropped by Don House and Brad Tate a few times when he got Vaselined up by the Cutman. The guy's chin's not there, and Khalil just dropped it in the Dustin Jacoby fight. I thought he lost that fight as well, but he got the win on the scorecards. A little bit inconsistent, but the truth remains he's very powerful. He's a thoughtful guy. He was going to retire at one point and live in Thailand, but he wanted to come back. And there was that thing, like Sea Level Kane. There was a Thailand Khalil out there as well. He's a mythical fighter. But Poatan Pereira, this guy blows me away every time I see him. He is so fucking good at what he does. You don't really see a lot of guys who are super crisp with their technique and also be powerful. Usually it's like a guy's kind of awkward, but watch out for that right hand. His left hand is unbelievable. His defense is a little wacky because he's so tall. He brings his head back. Obviously, he can get clipped. That's how Izzy got him. But other than that, I think this guy is a sponge. He's soaking it up. And it's scary where he just said recently this week, I finally understand this game. Like, that's scary to me. And the fact that a lot of people complaining that this is Khalil and Magomed Ankalaev, I understand. But listen, Poatan wants to fight. This dude's like, sign me up. I'll go anywhere. He's been in Utah for a while. He's training with Sean Strickland, who used to train with Roundtree. I know they got a little history. I like Poatan big here. I know the number's wide. I don't care. I'm going to take him. I think I'd put him in a parlay piece as well. I'm probably going to jump in a prop when we get to place your bets. But I think I like Poatan here.
And I know there are a lot of people. John Wood, of course, believes without a shadow of a doubt that Khalil Roundtree Jr. is going to get the knockout. And if you want to label the title shot improbable, he's certainly capable of doing something. I just think it's interesting, like, to think about going to the window and betting against Poatan right now. I mean, yes, there have been injuries, right? And he even recently spoke, Kenny, of a knee injury, and he sort of somersaulted after a win to avoid further injury. But he is the biggest active name in the sport at present, right? John Jones last fought at UFC 285. Pereira has fought 5 times since that offering in March of 2023. He has carried the sport, and real hard man to beat. Ken Flo, the minus 520 speaks to that. What do you have for us on the main event at UFC 307?
Yeah, Roundtree has made things interesting because he possesses a power and a speed that makes him capable of potentially pulling off an upset. However, when you look at Pereira and everything he has done in kickboxing and everything he's done in MMA, he's faced other guys that are just like that. And I think he's done that a lot. And to make matters worse, unfortunately, for Roundtree is the fact that Pereira continues to get better. He's getting more comfortable in the cage. He's showing more skills because of it. And he is, as everyone talks about his power and everything like that. That's the thing that's repeated over and over again. But to me, I think what's underappreciated about Alex Poatan Pereira is his intelligence. he knows how to shut you down. He knows how to approach you. He knows how to adjust and adapt in fights. And I think that we're going to see this, especially at 205 pounds. I think it's going to be tough for Roundtree to get into the proper range. I think Pereira's going to throw a lot of kicks down the middle. He's going to throw a lot of long range stuff at Roundtree to keep him on the outside. And when Roundtree does finally get inside the pocket, I think he's going to find that that left hook and that right hand down the middle is going to be very, very potent. So I think it's a tough one for Roundtree. I think for Roundtree, he kind of needs to fight with that confidence that he's been talking about lately. I love his story. Like Brian said, he's a very thoughtful guy. He's a very intelligent guy. And I love how he even got into the sport to just kind of lose weight and kind of improve himself. And I think that's what this journey is going to be about for him. And the fact that he's been able to go from here to a championship title shot is amazing. I think we'll see more excellent fights from Roundtree, more knockouts. I just don't see it happening here against Pereira, who is perhaps the biggest star and the best striker in the sport right now. So I think it's still going to be Pereira's time. And I definitely see a finish here no matter what. I don't see this one going the distance. Pereira gets it done yet again.
Two great human beings as well. Certainly Khalil Roundtree Jr., the lesser known quantity. I got to know him a little bit at the Patrick Mahomes golf tournament. His wife, Mia Kang, I ran into actually after the Sphere show. And the family is very excited to see what they can do with the opportunity. He's been there in Salt Lake City for a while. All right, Place Your Bets is brought to you by JohnAnik.com, where you can enjoy 15% off all merchandise with promo code BULLY. We've got one more sleep designs, all sorts of Anik and Florian podcast designs, and all of undisputed UFC welterweight champion Belal Muhammad's new championship merchandise is at JohnAnik.com. All right, we will update the standings from UFC Fight Night, Moicano versus Saint-Denis. I hope we didn't shortchange Renato Money Moicano. Dude's absolutely the man. I don't think we did. Year to date for Petrie was minus 580.28. Check my math as always, BP. By the way, on the Poetan merchandise front, real quick, if I could. So I'm wearing a Chihuihuas t-shirt today, right? I try to buy fighter merchandise as much as I can. But you, Bri, me, and Cody, right? And again, 3 years ago at this time, Alex Pereira not in the UFC. You, me, and Cody have all bought merchandise from the guy. You know, I got a sticker. You guys got t-shirts. I think Chama is a nice t-shirt that Cody has. But just talking about resonation, right? Like we're all MMA fans that work in the space, right? And we have gone on the internet and bought Poetan merchandise, right? Like we can't get enough. You know, women love him. Fucking men want to be him. You know, want to shave our heads and be Poetan. All right.
That's right.
Petrie was minus 580.28. You had 300 on Imavov, minus 218. That was plus $137 or so. Rest of the tickets, we rip them up. 400 on Joe Anderson Brito, 200 on Matt Frivola, 100 on Benoit Saint-Denis. So it's minus 562 and change for the week. Yearly total minus 1142.67. Ken Flo in the black this week.
Hey,
you're still red, but you had a $750 straight wager on Nassourdine Imavov. Big price though, so it paid you $344.04. And he gave $250 back on the three-leg parlay. You know, William Gomez and Imavov came in, Kenny. Benoit Saint-Denis did not on the back end. So for the week, still plus 94.04. Year to date, south of $3,000 or so. The lead for Petrie is about $19.75. Florian, though, wins the week by $650 or so. Chipping away the last 2 weeks. And you guys have $2,000 now for UFC 307. This is a pay-per-view. You have twice as much money to spend. Brian Petrie, lead us off with your wagers for UFC 307.
Sure. So listen, the whole card's open for us to bet, you know, and I'm going to take a Pennington, but it's not going to be Raquel Pennington. Ooh. It's going to be Tisha Pennington, the tiny tornado. I like the matchup against Carlos Esparza. Carlos Esparza, retirement fight, two-time champion, Hall of Famer. She's great. But I love this matchup for Pennington. I love it so much because you know your boy knows chicks. And guess what? Kenny and I, you know, Kenny's a little behind. So I need to, and I'm cold right now, so I need to let go. $1,000 on Tisha Pennington. Oh! $1,000 on her. Let's go, baby. 1K on Tisha Pennington. I'm confident.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, I'll quickly pull up a calculator. Hopefully it doesn't mess with the Wi-Fi. But yeah, I mean, that's like, you know, I've been waiting all year for somebody that pays you $588.24. You know?
I love it. I need it. You know, I'm down. I need it.
So, yeah, I mean, you know, that would pay you $588.24. I've been waiting all year for one of you guys to just go 1K on a fight. Anyway, Ken Flo, no pressure. Just one prelim selection for BP. What do you have for us?
Oh, I got 2K.
Twice the money.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, we're good. I'll go quickly. I got Buckley for 500.
Ooh,
I got Kayla Harrison
for
5. I got Kayla Harrison by decision for 250, and I got Alex Pereira by KO 250 as well. And both those are not available on DraftKings. I'm sure the Peloton KO is going to be quite high, but I just don't see any other way he's going to win.
Nice way to attack the board. I apologize for
no, you're good. You got excited.
I just got so excited that you dropped a band on
Sure.
Tisha Pennington, born in Fall River, Massachusetts. She was actually at Fenway Park a few weeks ago. Get a little City of Champions rub. Ken Flo, KennyFlorian.com. I'm going right after the show, but for now, we need your bets.
$1,000 bet. You're crazy, man, but I like you. Do you guys know what song this is? Mama told me when I was young. What song is that? You guys know what song that is?
Yeah, I know it's on it.
Simple Man. It's Simple Man. I am a very simple man, guys.
Go.
So I got one freaking
go.
bet. Give me 2 G's on Mr. Roman Dolidze. I like that fight a lot, guys. I like it a lot. A lot.
I know dead air isn't great for radio, but wow. All right, Roman Dolidze plus 136. Ken Flo is not messing around. And, we're October 1st. We still got 3 big months. So 2 bands on Dolidze would pay you $27.20, and it would wipe out anything really that has happened this year. Look at this guy. Look at this guy, huh?
I'm never speechless. Kenny Florian just knocked my fucking head off.
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
Right. I mean, you thought you were doing something with that 1K.
Not only did he trump me, but he's now making me regret my Kevin Holland pick. And then he goes, oh, cute, 1,000 on Pennington. Yeah, great. 2K on a fucking dog, bro.
Bri?
Yeah.
I hope you have a great day and a better
Me
evening.
too.
I hope you enjoy the NFL and the UFC, and I hope at some point you put your precious face on a T-shirt with a little quotation that says Big Norm.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll get to that.
I'll buy it. Hey, anything else, or are you good? You good?
We're good, boys. Thank you, boys.
Fuck out of here. We'll talk to you next week. There he is. Big gun Brian Petrie, Chief Handicapper here on the Anik and Florian podcast. All right, we got to get on out of here. I don't know that there's anybody left for me to offend as far as my entire podcast team here, but I hope you guys still love me. Thanks to our producer, Cody Merrill. Thanks to Raymond Longo, of course, Brian Petrie. Don't forget, remember the show with Jason Anik and Belal Muhammad every Thursday live over on the Anik and Florian podcast YouTube channel and on the Odd Shark YouTube channel. You can see me and Jay go head-to-head with our NFL picks every week on Anik versus Anik as well. JohnAnik.com is live for your merchandise, promo code BULLY. KennyFlorian.com, best website on the internet. I'm going to go prove that in about 5 minutes. And we actually have a special announcement on the back end of the show. We are going live right after the pay-per-view. So I'm going to do the post-fight show on ESPN Plus for about 40 minutes. And then I will be back in my hotel room. Well, I'm so jacked up after these pay-per-view. It's not like I'm sleeping, right? Yeah. It's not like I'm some social climber, right? Who wants to hang out with me? I'm not for everybody. So we will be live. Anik and Florian podcast pay-per-view recap right after UFC 307 on the DraftKings YouTube channel. You can watch the post-fight show for a little bit. We'll be live around 2:30 a.m. Eastern or so. Perhaps that'll be a big deal internationally in Australia and England. We could get you through your Sunday. But we'll be live right after the pay-per-view, and hopefully people will join us around 2:30 or 3 a.m. Eastern. And it'll be fun for everybody involved. Thanks for watching us live at Anik Florian Pod for the social channels. And if you like and subscribe, it helps the show as well. We will talk to you live early Sunday morning. For Ken Flo, I'm John Anik. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Yo, later.